Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everybody and welcome back to Books and Coffee. Welcome to this new season 3. How have you guys been? How's life been treating you? I hope you've all been in the best of health and iman. I took an overly long break, a really long break that I did not plan for actually, and yeah, I'm happy to be back, Alhamdulillah. I hope you all have been good, and I hope life has been treating you well, even though, yeah, of course, life doesn't treat us well all the time, but then I hope life has been treating you well. I'm just flabbergasted. That word was unnecessary, but then I am in shock and in awe, and I'm like, subhanallah, Books and Coffee is actually a year old today. I'm still trying to fathom how the month passed by so fast that we are currently at 1 year of Books and Coffee. Like how? It felt like it was just yesterday I picked up my phone to record the very first episode of this podcast. And now, thinking back, I'm like, subhanallah, we are at 1 year. Before we know it, I'm sure we'd be like 10 years into this podcast thing. And subhanAllah, the days and weeks and months are just passing by really fast, and I want to say it's kind of scary and it's also kind of comforting at the same time. I'm just so amazed and grateful and thankful for this milestone of getting to 1 year. I'm still trying to process it, honestly. I'm so grateful because there are people that start their podcast, but the podcast doesn't even get to be a year old. But then here we are. I'm still alive. Alhamdulillah, the podcast is still alive. And we are here. It's truly something to be grateful for, honestly. Throughout this 1 year, throughout this entire year of recording, I have achieved a lot. I'm so happy. I did not in a million years ever imagine that I would achieve all this that I have achieved. Even though I didn't achieve everything I wanted to achieve within this year, I'm still happy I achieved a whole lot of what I wanted to achieve. Alhamdulillah. From my guests to the audience to listeners, followers, motivators, encouragers, I don't know if that's a word. All of you people are just so amazing, subhanallah. I don't know, but this community is such an amazing community, to be quite frank. It's such an amazing community. And throughout this journey, I have learned so many things. I remember the first time I actually put out an episode, right? And I was contemplating, and then I sent it to a couple of people to corrections here and there, because I didn't want to look like a very silly and weird person out there. I needed to correct things like, okay, is this how podcasting is supposed to be done and stuff. And even before I even actually went all out with the podcasting, I had to ask for advice from some people. I asked from my mother, and then I also reached out to Fatima Bala. I love her so much. Maybe you guys have heard her name a lot in almost all my podcast episodes. It sounds like I'm obsessed with her, but I don't want to put it that way, but she's such an inspiration. She's such an inspiration to me, and the impact she's had on me is so great. And I remember messaging her, and I was like, oh my god, Fatima, I'm going to start a podcast. I'm like, I started a podcast, I need some advice and tips and stuff, because I know she had a podcast back in, I think it was lockdown. And then she answered me, even though I was feeling like, oh my god, I'm going to be disturbing her. But then she was just so amazing, lovely, caring. She was always there. She even listened to the episode. She told me some correction. She's like, yeah, it's really nice. Then, there are some couple of things that need to be changed here and there. And I was like, oh my god, thank you so much. And I worked on it, and I got a couple of feedback on the first interview I ever did. I have never done an interview before. That first interview episode with Husna was my first, and there were a couple of flaws there, and then people pointed it out, so I tried working on that, and I'm so grateful. I have improved over the past 1 year, even though there's still room for improvement. I'm so happy, alhamdulillah. Someone that's also inspired me is, oh my goodness, Fatima Garba. Never fully understood podcast. Obviously, if you're listening to it, you probably know her. If you don't know her, go and search her up on Instagram. Never fully understood podcast, NFU. It's such an amazing podcast. Her podcast also inspired me. They inspired me greatly, and just watching her grow, I have learned a whole lot from this journey of podcasting. And then that zeal of learning from other people, learning new things, experiences and stuff. I think that's one of the things that made me keep going. And I cannot even start talking about my guests. Like, the guest I have interviewed within this whole period, it feels so surreal. Do you know one thing? One thing is, a whole lot of these guests were actually guests I planned on interviewing. I was like, you know what? I'm going to interview this guest. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I know I'm going to do it. An example of a guest, I think it was the first male guest, Abdrahim. I knew him, I think, from social media. And then I attended his book launch. Back then, I had not even started Books and Coffee. I think it was back in January 2023. I attended the book launch and I just loved how everything was. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to interview Abdrahim, Coco, and Husna Aliyu. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I know I'm going to interview them. I just had this determination that, I'm going to interview them. And a few months later, as Allah would have it, I came up with the idea of the podcast and I got them on and I did it. And then with Fatima and Umita and then Ishaq, Adil, Aisha Abdul, Firdaus, all these people were literally people that I wanted to interview. And I was like, I am going to get them on my podcast. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'll just try my luck. And there are this kind of moments when you doubt yourself. I feel like I'm being vulnerable here. I don't want everybody to think it's like a bed of roses and all that. But I remember when I wanted to send an invitation to one of my guests, because I had a whole lot of delusional list of guests. I was like, I'm going to get them on my podcast. I don't know how, but I'm going to get them on my podcast. And then I remember when I was about sending it to her, and I was like, girl, are you sure you are not being unrealistic? Like, why do you want to send it to her? She's not even going to open your DM and stuff. I was like, you know what? At least I'll just send it, and I know that I shot my shots. But at least I tried. I took a step. I made an effort. And then I sent it. And then a couple of days later, that voice came back. I was like, you know what? You see exactly why I say you should have not sent it. Does she who are you that should even take note of? And then I think it was that day I was having that thought. She literally replied. So all in all, let me tell you something. If you want to shoot that shot, shoot it. Send that message. Yeah, it's going to be that voice in your head telling you, oh, you're not enough, you're not this, blah 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 blah. And you know what even makes me even happier? Because I am actually building a community where I am doing what I love because I love doing, because I love talking, I love books, I love coffee, and I'm doing this because I love doing it. And I'm happy to see other individuals and fellows and people that like-minded. And one thing that's really inspiring and really inspiring and comforting is when people message you and tell you, oh, you know what, you actually inspired me. And I would just sit back and be like, that is such a wholesome feeling. That is such an amazing feeling for someone to tell you that, oh, you've inspired me positively. You've inspired me to actually start my own podcast. You've inspired me to continue that book club I wanted to abandon. It's just so amazing to be someone's inspiration, to inspire them positively, influence them positively. It's just been an amazing journey, honestly, and I cannot wait to see what the next year has in store for us. It's been an amazing and exceptional journey. Shout out to all my guests, my listeners, followers, everybody. I love you all for the sake of Allah. And welcome to season 3. Welcome to season 3. We are entering a new chapter. Inshallah, we are going to have new guests, more interesting topics, talks, more laughter, more books, more book reviews, and I'm really excited for this journey. The first episode of this season drops on the 26th of May, Sunday, 26th of May, 2024, inshallah. I'm super glad that we get to do another season. If you've not followed, click on the follow button, or if it's subscribe button you're seeing, click on the follow button or subscribe button. Subscribe to our YouTube and follow our Instagram for updates. If you've enjoyed our previous episodes and you currently enjoy this episode, or you love our podcast overall, just rate our show and don't forget to drop your beautiful review. If you have maybe any questions, don't hesitate to email us at booksandcoffeepodcast@gmail.com. And also don't forget to answer the little question thing about how May has been for you below. And with all that being said, I hope you all have an amazing day, week, month. I remain your host Fadila. Assalamualaikum.